folks, my name is Jen, and today we are going to talk about all of the books that I hope to read this year. Recently, I did a post on Instagram. I saw, I believe it was Whispers from a Reader over there doing the tag, so I saw that and I did a post about it, basically showing the 23 books that I hope definitely to get to in 2023. So I figured that I could also share with you guys everything that I'm hoping to read this year. So I am largely a mood reader, and I try to fix my monthly TBRs per what mood I think that I'm going to be in based on the season or what's going on with me or whatever. And so yeah, so I could say there's specific books that I'm hoping to get to, but really, depending on my mood, it's an open game back here. This is my shelf that is full of all of my unread books now, and I could, any of these I would love to get to this year. I couldn't say for definite all of them because I definitely think there's over 100 and there's just no way that I'll be able to get to all of them this year. But what I figured I could do today is I can do like a little bookshelf tour of all of my unread books, and we can go through them all, and I will note when we go through if they are on my list of 23 books that I, no matter what, am most definitely cracking open this year. We'll get into that in a second. I figured first of all I can start with my books that sit on my nightstand of shame, and we can go through all of those first and foremost, and then we can get into these puppies. So, alright. Hopefully the natural light will kind of last. It's looking overcast now, but let's get started. So first up we have books that I am currently trying to make my way through here in January. Depending on when I put this video up, I may have already finished some of these, which would be wonderful. But right now, the first is Evelina by Fanny Burney. I am actually making my way pretty quickly through this, loving it. So that is book 1. Another book is Westmark by Lloyd Alexander. Shuna's Journey by Hayao Miyazaki. Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard, and this is borrowed. And The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden, and this is the first book in my 23 in 2023 that I want to get to. So from my nightstand of shame, we have Hidden History of Vermont, and this is by Mark Bushnell. Beloved by Toni Morrison, which this would actually be like a reread, but I want to finish reading it. Caramello by Sandra Cisneros, because I didn't finish it last year. Duchess of Death, the unauthorized biography of Agatha Christie by Richard Hack. Iceberg by Clive Cussler, though I do have to say this sadly might end up on my DNF list. We'll see how this goes this year. And The Fall of the Year by Howard Frank Mosher. So that was all of my currently reading or nightstand of shame books, so let's get into the shelves themselves. So this first shelf, I apologize if I'm a little shaky. I am kind of holding up the tripod on a cushion so I could get this shot, but this first shelf is all of my fantasy that I'm hoping to get to. Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. The Never Tilting World by Ren Chipeco. A Gathering of Shadows. And A Conjuring of Light, both by V. Schwab, and these are both on my 20 and 23 list. The Library at Mount Char by Scott Hawkins. Oh, I almost forgot to say, Legends and Lattes is also on my 20 and 23 list. Dragon Mark by Sherilyn Kenyon, The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah, The Red Pyramid by Rick Riordan, and The Trials of Apollo, The Hidden Oracle, also by Rick Riordan, Lamb by Christopher Moore, Shield of Three Lions by Pamela Kaufman, Eon by Alison Goodman, A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness, The Girl Who Chased the Moon by Sarah Addison Allen, and this would be a reread technically, Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman, The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon, Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston, Ink Spell, which would be a reread, and Ink Death, both by Cornelia Funke, and this is one of my 20 and 23. Daughter of the Forest, which is also a 20 and 23. Son of the Shadows, and Child of the Prophecy, and these three are by Juliet Marillier, and they're all borrowed. Beauty by Robin McKinley, which is technically a reread. The Eyes of the Dragon by Stephen King. Mort, which is on my 20 and 23. Weird Sisters. Sorcery. Pyramids. Guards, I Shall Wear Midnight, and The Shepherd's Crown, all by Terry Pratchett, and Gods of Jade and Shadow by Sylvia Marino Garcia. Okay, so this next shelf here is sci-fi non-fiction. Yeah, sci-fi and non-fiction. So Close to You and The Strange Familiar Place, both by Rachel Carter. I've read this before. I need to finish reading this. Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. A Well-Timed Enchantment by Vivian Vandy Velde, and this would technically be a reread. Consider by Christy Acevedo. Star Wars Episode 1 Journal, Anakin Skywalker. This is a book from childhood. This is a reread. Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, and The Last Command, all by Timothy Zahn, and these are also technically rereads. The Devil's Sea by Dirk Kussler. This is borrowed. Oh, I almost forgot. Yeah, it's like, I guess I have my adventure over here too, or maybe just my nonfiction. I probably put this book in the wrong section. That's okay. The Sea Hunters, and The Sea Hunters 2 by Clive Cussler and Craig Durgo. This would be a reread. This is, I haven't read yet. The Great Northern Express by Howard Frank Mosher. I Married Adventure by Osa Johnson. The Princess Diarist by Carrie Fisher, which is on my 20 and 23. Will by Will Smith and Mark Manson. Notes of a Native Son by James Baldwin. Homework by Julie Andrews. Poirot and Me by David Suchet. Animal Vegetable Miracle by Barbara Kingsolver, and this is technically a reread. This was one of my textbooks in college. The Secret Diaries of Miss Anne Lister. This is the complete writings of Benjamin Franklin. The Keeler Reader by Garrison Keeler. Audrey Hepburn, An Elegant Spirit by Sean Hepburn Farrar, who's her son. Good Stuff by Jennifer Grant, who is Cary Grant's daughter. Roadside History of Vermont by Peter S. Jennison. Expedition Wida by Barry Clifford with Paul Perry, and this is on my 20 and 23. Cary Grant by Mark Elliott. The Grey Fox, The True Story of Bill Miner, Last of the Old Time Bandits by Mark Dugan and John Bosnecker. Jane Austen, The Secret Radical by Helena Kelly. The Narnian, The Life and Imagination of C.S. Lewis by Alan Jacobs. Alexander Hamilton by Ron Chernow. Alexander Hamilton Revolutionary by Margaret Brackenbrough. Sell It, The Life and Times of Jesus of Nazareth by Reza Aslan. Theodore Rex by Edmund Morris. Scenes in the Life of Harriet Tubman by Sarah H. Bradford. Common Sense and The Rights of Man, both by Thomas Paine. Then this shelf is the rest of nonfiction. Mysteries and Classics. A is for Arsenic, The Poisons of Agatha Christie by Catherine Harkup, and this is on my 20 and 23. Cultish, The Language of Fanaticism by Amanda Montell, which is also on my 20 and 23. Women of the Golden Dawn, Rebels and Priestesses by Mary K. Greer, and In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. Spinsters in Jeopardy, and The Scales of Justice, both by Niall Marsh. Oh, and I'm also currently reading Color Scheme by Niall Marsh. Sadie by Courtney Summers, which is, I believe, also on my 2023. Yeah, it's also on my 20 and 23 list. The Captive, Daughter of Deceit, The Demon Lover, The Landauer Legacy, The Road to Paradise Island, and The Time of the Hunter's Moon, all by Victoria Holt. Ransom River by May Gardner, Deserves to Die by Lisa Jackson, and Death Echo by Elizabeth Lowell, and all three of these are borrowed. Anatomy of Evil by Will Thomas. Skeleton Man by Tony Hillerman. It's Always the Husband by Michelle Campo, which is borrowed. The Girl Who Played with Fire, and The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest, both by Stieg Larsson. The Client by John Grisham, which is borrowed. The Scarlet Pimpernel by Baroness Orczy, which I'm still working my way through. Bleak House by Charles Dickens. The Three Musketeers by Alexandre Dumas. The Color Purple by Alice Walker. Slaughterhouse 5 by Kurt Vonnegut. Go Tell It on the Mountain by James Baldwin. The Complete Short Stories of Mark Twain. Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes. And this is on my 20 and 23 list. And, oh, actually, Three Musketeers and Bleak House are also on my 20 and 23 list. The Short Stories of Nathaniel Hawthorne, which is also on my 20 and 23 list. The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne, which is actually a reread. Just So Stories by Rudyard Kipling. Heyyyy by Joanna Spyri. Understood Betsy by Dorothy Canfield. If Beale Street Could Talk by James Baldwin. This weirdly shaped one. The Female Quixote, The Adventures of Arabella by Charlotte Lennox. Okay, this is a weird angle, but this is what we're working with. It's historical fiction, my horrifying horror section, and then like lit fic contemporary and romance. Sarabon for Two Sisters by Philippa Carr. A Break with Charity, a story about the Salem witch trials by Anne Rinaldi, which is a reread. Outlander by Dragonfly and Amber, and Voyager, all by Diana Gabaldon. In El Tiempo de las Mariposas, which is a Spanish language version of In the Time of the Butterflies by Julia Alvarez. I have read this book a couple of times and I absolutely adore it, but I got the Spanish language version when I was trying to relearn Spanish over the past couple of years as kind of like motivation for me. So I would like to read this year. I have a feeling it will be really hard to get through because I am not as far along in my Spanish studies as I would like. But I might reread this version this year. Victoria by Daisy Goodwin, and this is borrowed. An Acquaintance with Darkness by Anne Rinaldi. The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead. My Fine Fellow by Jenica Cohen. A Time for Silence by Philippa Carr, and this would be a reread. My Secret War, The World War II Diary of Madeleine Beck by Mary Pope Osborne, and this would technically be a reread. Firestarter by Stephen King. The Outsider. The Institute. For Past Midnight. And Billy Summers, all by Stephen King, and this is on my 20 and 23 list. Falling for Hamlet by Michelle Ray. Saving Fish from Drowning by Amy Tan, The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, A Mango-Shaped Space by Wendy Moss, Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini, Follow My Leader by James B. Garfield, and Chikaro, Wild Pony of the Pampa by Frances Calnay, and these are both like childhood rereads. The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, which is one on my 23 in 2023. We Are Pirates by Daniel Handler, Get a Life Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert, A Hope Divided, and An Unconditional Freedom, both by Alyssa Cole, both on my 23 in 2023. The next several are from my bottom shelf, which is like manga, graphic novels, and oversized books. I can't really get a good camera angle on them, so I am just going to bring them up to this level and you can see them. So first is the Wild One series by Kiyu Fujiwara. This is in my attempt to finish collecting manga series I've had for a while. So I have volumes 1, 2, 3, and 4, which would technically be rereads. And then I have volume 5 and volume 6, which are new to me. And this series is almost finished. I think there's like 10 volumes, so I have a couple more to collect. And then the next series is After School Charisma by Kumiko Sukani. And so I have volume 1, 2, 3, and 4, which I have read. Which are volume 5. I know that's Hitler, but it's about, like, in the future with clones. Volume 6, volume 7, volume 8, and volume 9. And I can't remember how many are in this series, but I think I almost have all of them. Then we have The Girl from the Other Side by Nagabi, and this is Omnibus Volume 1. And Omnibus Volume 2, and these are both on my 23 and 23 list. Then we have Mouse, Survivor's Tale, My Father Bleeds History, Volume 1 by Art Spiegelman, and this is also on my 23 and 23 list. Who the F Are You by Huda Fame, Watchmen, and the Omnibus of The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and these are both by Alan Moore, and technically rereads. Lore Olympus Volume 2, oh, I also forgot to put Lore Olympus Volume 1 on this bookshelf, so I should probably do that. These are by Rachel Smith. I have read these online on Webtoon, but yeah, I'd like to read the physical copies. And then we have my oversized books. The first of which is The Ultimate Visual History of Back to the Future by Michael Klastorin and Randall Atamaniak. This is like, I love this book. It is my pride and joy. And I am reading it. I'm just really slow at it. And the last book that I like to get to is another visual history thing. It is The Vault, Doctor Who. It is basically Treasures from the First 50 Years by Marcus Hearn. So you can see I like time travel. And that's it, folks. That is all of my unread books and basically everything that I like to try to get to this year. Like I said, it's definitely far too many for me to get through in one year, knowing me. But the books that I marked as my 23 in 2023 are the books that I absolutely definitely have to and want to get through this year. So as long as I get through those, that's wonderful. But everything else, like I said, just because I'm a mood reader, there's other books that I'd like to get to, but I don't know if I will. But they're all possibilities for this year, and I'm just very excited to see what this year brings reading-wise. Are there any books that you guys are really excited to get to this year? Books that you really have a goal to read this year? If so, let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching. If you are new here, please consider subscribing if you would. And yeah, I will see y'all in the next video, guys. Bye.